This is a Dell Alienware gaming PC that I wrapped in Vivid's forged carbon fiber vinyl wrap to give it a unique, stealthy look. I'll show you how I did this in the video, so let's get started. The first step in any vinyl wrap project is to make sure that whatever it is you're going to wrap is thoroughly cleaned and free of dirt, oil, debris, and anything that could ruin the wrap. In this case, I just use a mixture of rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol and a mixture of that with water to be about a 70 to 30 or 80 to 20% ratio of alcohol to water. Additionally, I like to use a microfiber cloth, and then I will have micro squeegees or squeegees to help me get into the little crevices and nooks and crannies to make sure that any edges are cleaned thoroughly. Once you have cleaned the surfaces of whatever it is you're going to wrap, in this case this Alienware gaming PC, and it's fully clean and free of any oil, dirt, and debris, you're ready to get started with the actual wrapping process. And so now that you've cleaned your surface thoroughly, cut a piece big enough to cover the entire surface area with some extra all the way around. Here you can see I've cut a piece already, big enough all the way around, Vivid's Premium Plus Forged Carbon Fiber Vinyl. And you can see right now what I'm doing is orienting the vinyl and checking to make sure that I have full coverage with some excess all the way around on all the different sides. Once I'm comfortable that the vinyl will cover everything that I need with a little bit of extra all the way around, what I'm going to do here is hold the vinyl down on the surface with my arm, my forearm in this case. I'm going to start to peel off the backing paper a little bit. Once I get enough off, I'm going to go ahead and tack part of that corner onto the surface of the gaming PC in this case. Tack that down so then I can easily pull the remaining vinyl wrap backing paper off so I can get the whole sheet out of there and the vinyl loosely applied or loosely on top of the surface of the gaming PC. And now with the vinyl loosely on top of the surface of the gaming PC, what I'm going to do next is lift up the vinyl on each of the three sides to try to glass out the vinyl as best I can on each of the different sides here. What I'm doing is lifting the vinyl up and then using the triangle technique, whereas I will lift up and pull in two angled opposite directions while also pulling towards or away, creating a triangular like pull. And this will help glass out or smooth out the vinyl to some extent. It may leave some wrinkles, and that may be okay depending on the orientation of the wrinkles. And then from there, once I have each of the sides, in this case it's a three-sided surface area, I will then begin the squeegeeing process, laying down the squeegee onto the big flat surface areas on each of the three sides of this PC. You notice that I'll stop short of the edges just a little bit or get right up to the edge, and then on each of the three sides there's kind of a curved area that goes down, and so I'm also stopping just in front of that curved area as well. In this case, I did not need heat to lay this down, just simply lifting up the vinyl a little bit and squeegeeing it down took care of most, if not all, of the wrinkles without any heat. If you do need heat, I recommend having a heat gun on hand. If you don't have a heat gun, a hair dryer will work, just something that has a little bit of heat so that you can help make the vinyl a little bit softer, a little bit more conformable, and will actually allow it to stretch a little bit better. As this vinyl, it does cold stretch, but not quite as well because it is a textured vinyl. Now that I have all the vinyl laid down to basically the edges, I'm going to take that heat gun, and what I'm going to do here is I'm lifting up each of the sides that goes kind of over the side edge, and I'm using very low heat because this is a computer, very low heat on my heat gun to lift up the vinyl. And then what I'm doing is I'm holding the vinyl up and then using heat to essentially shrink the vinyl, and you can see as I heat that vinyl it relaxes a little bit, it shrinks. I'm not pulling on it, I didn't add any tension as I did it. As the vinyl smoothed out and relaxed, I basically dropped the vinyl down onto the surface in a nice smooth fashion, and that means it's been pre-shrunk in a sense and has no tension as I laid it down and got to the very edge there. I'm going to repeat that process here as you can see me doing. I had the vinyl lifted up, I'm not pulling on it, I'm just heating it. I seal it down as I need to. Lift it up again, add some heat. If there's wrinkles, I can address it then. Add just a little bit of heat. This vinyl does shrink in a sense just a little bit with some heat. And then you can see there that it basically, with a little bit of heat, again, very low heat, and slow heat, I'm causing the vinyl to basically lay itself down without even squeegeeing initially onto that curved surface that goes over or droops over the side edge of each of the sides of the gaming PC case. Here I am doing the last piece again. You can see some wrinkles formed. I just simply lift up the vinyl just a little bit, add some heat. You can see the vinyl kind of shrinking and relaxing just a little bit. And then once it's all the way down, I've got it basically on the surface, that's when I'll address any wrinkles. You can use your finger a lot of times and then squeegee the vinyl down on top of that just to make sure it's sealed really well and nice and tightly. Again, you can use a little bit of heat, lift up the vinyl to address that, and then get rid of any wrinkles. Now that I have all the vinyl laid down on the main surface areas, and I'm trying to get over the edges here, I'm using my micro squeegee now to go ahead and basically define the edges of the line where it droops over just a little bit, and then there's a gap, there's a flat edge, and then it forms a gap between the outer case shell of the gaming PC and the actual body itself. And what I'm using is my micro squeegee to basically tuck the vinyl into that gap, into that edge there, which will then later become where I'm going to cut my actual vinyl off, all the excess vinyl that's hanging off the side edge of the gaming PC case. Basically, I'm doing this all the way around. I'm using a little bit of heat on the edges, as you see, to relax that vinyl, shrink it up a little bit so that if there is any tension, all that tension is taken away because the heat will cause it to relax, shrink up, which the tension would cause it to do later. And so by going ahead and using heat to take that out and take care of that, you won't have any pullback later on. The vinyl will be applied, totally relaxed, and then you can rest assured that the vinyl will not pull itself off or release later on or cause those fingering that you see occasionally when things have been vinyl wrapped and the vinyl has been stretched to the edge. So here everything is totally relaxed, and again just going all the way around the three sides of the PC using heat and then making sure everything is relaxed and tension free on the edges, and my micro squeegee to go ahead and tuck everything into the gap between the PC side case as well as the PC body. And again, that will now become my actual cut line that I'll be following all the way through and around. Just going to go ahead and finish this up all the way around here. And now that I've finished going along all the edges, tucking the edge into the gap with my micro squeegee, I'm just going to go around all the edges here, as you see, with some low heat to make sure that everything is sealed down nice and tight and that there are no bubbles or extra wrinkles that may form when I start the next process, which will be cutting or trimming out that vinyl. Speaking of which, I get my knife, I snap a new blade to make sure it's nice and tight, or nice and sharp. And then what I'm doing is I'm trying to find an area where I can get the tip of my blade, and again, just the tip of the blade, into a gap and get started. And then what I'm doing is, because I took that extra time to follow the gap between the case side and the body of the PC, I'm now floating that tip in that gap and I'm actually pushing upwards in a sense, so the side of my knife is actually pushing up against the upper edge or inner edge of the PC case itself, and that is basically guiding my blade all the way around. And so I'm just taking my time. I do have this sped up just a little bit, but I am taking my time to cut all the way around to make sure that I don't miscut, like my blade jumps out and cuts the vinyl in the wrong place or cuts the PC itself. And I'm just going all the way around, taking my time, using that gap in the edge of the PC case siding to guide my blade and cut it. Again, if you snap your blade, your utility knife, it's super sharp, it will just basically do the work for you. There should be very little pressure that you need. Once you're sure that you've cut all the way around, carefully peel away the vinyl so that you don't accidentally rip it if you didn't cut a specific piece, and pull away the excess vinyl. Once you finish that, you can see what I'm doing is taking my micro squeegee and making sure that after I just cut, all the edges are tucked down and sealed really nice and tightly. And this will make sure that there's no loose vinyl flapping, and if you have a little bit of an edge, that it is tucked and sealed down nice and tight against the body of the gaming PC. Now this PC has these 3 LED strips in the side here, and what I'm doing is I'm taking a kind of a sharper edge micro squeegee, and then I'm tracing that out, those little LED strip recesses. Once I have that traced out, I'm then taking my knife, and this time I'm using a blade that has a 60-degree angle, so it has kind of a longer point that I can get down into there using that longer, thinner point to get into that recess. And you can see I just cut out that little strip. Once I've cut that out, I'll go ahead and use my regular squeegee to make sure that the vinyl is all nice and tucked on the edge of that recess. Repeating the process here, there's 3 of these LED strips. Again, taking a squeegee with kind of a sharper edge, defining the edges that I need to cut, and then using my knife, and again snapping a blade each time here. You don't necessarily see me doing that, but snapping a blade each time so that my blade is as sharp as it can be, and then carefully tracing out where I used the micro squeegee to define the cut lines, and then cutting out, and then sealing everything with my regular squeegee upon doing that. This is the last one here, and we're again just the exact same process of defining the line, using my knife to cut it out, taking away the excess, and then using the squeegee to make sure everything's sealed. Well, in this case, I did find, I think if I remember, a little bubble, so I added a little bit of heat and then press that bubble out before going ahead and taking care of trimming out this piece here. So this is the last LED strip that I'm going to be pulling out and then making sure everything is sealed. And once you finish that process, you are, for all intents and purposes, finished wrapping the side of that PC case. The other side, do the exact same thing as you can see that I've done on the other side here. And then your PC, in this case a Dell Alienware PC in the triangular shape, I can't remember which version it is fully wrapped in Vivid's forged carbon fiber vinyl wrap. Alright guys, so hopefully this video has been helpful in showing you how quickly and easily you can vinyl wrap a gaming PC, at least this kind of gaming PC with easy flat surfaces. If you thought this video was great, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You also hit that bell notification button so you get notices when I post new content to the channel. And thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great day.